All right, YouTube. Once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast. I got my voice back, so you can't tell me nothing now. Go ahead and like the video, comment, and subscribe. I need you to smash the subscription button. I need you to leave a whole lot of comments because we got spring football happening in a couple of hours at Auburn. So I need you, one traffic light town, biscuit for gravy eating jokers, to get on this channel and let's get it going for the Auburn Tigers. Let me get a big War Eagle. Go ahead and give a big War Eagle in the comment section. And when you do give that War Eagle, I need you to state where you are from and, you know, whether you're an Auburn alum, whether you just an Auburn fan by default, because like me, before I went to Auburn, I was an Auburn fan. Well, I'll say this. I grew up as a Florida State fan, but I liked Auburn. Like, I always watched Auburn and I always wanted them to win, especially when the Iron Bowl was happening. I will admit, just from a quiet standpoint, when Alabama took on Miami in 1992 in the national championship game, I did root for Alabama. I wanted them, and boy, did they do it. I was always torn between fandom. You know, I always liked Auburn, though, because if you think about Auburn, it's always some drama with them. It's always a dramatic ending. It's always just a team that just fights to the end. Because I think about that undefeated season in, I think it was 1993. Auburn, the first year that Auburn actually took on Alabama in Jordan-Hare Stadium. And Auburn just always had the flair for the dramatics. And when you think about it, ESPN, Auburn is not a national championship winning team on a year, but Auburn is always on ESPN. Why? Because the games get such good ratings because Auburn has the flair for dramatics, and it continued even through the Tommy Tuberville era, all the way to Gene Chizik, especially with that national championship run where pretty much every game was dramatic, especially for the first six. Now, it started to get a little less dramatic, and then the dramatics kind of kicked up when you talk about the comeback in 2010. I want to give a big shout out to all the Auburn fans who have endured this COVID-19, you know, that have supported me even through all of this stuff, the coaching changes, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes. Big shout out to the Auburn fans, especially the Auburn fans who are going to make it to the A-Day game today to see what these Auburn Tigers are going to be doing. I wanted to talk about the wide receivers, but I want to see what they do in the A-Day game. I want to see what kind of conceptual entities that Brian Harsin and Mike Bobo will add to the passing game. Now, I did see in some of the footage of spring practice, you still had the horizontal passing game out to the running back where quarterbacks were drilling to the horizontal area. Now, when I talk about horizontal, I mean those screen passes, those quick passes to the horizontal right or the horizontal left. And that's going to be interesting. I did see some stuff with Kobe Hudson. And what I'm really interested to see is I think Auburn has the opportunity to be somewhat dynamic with their versatile skill set at the wide receiver position with Cornelius Williams as the wide receiver coach. He's coached some pretty good guys down at Troy University. Troy University is nothing to, really one of the staples in, non-Power 5 football in the state of Alabama and in their particular conference. So I think Auburn is got a good get out of Cornelius Williams. I want to give a big War Eagle to all the fans. Like I said, I hope you guys travel well, were safe, and really excited about the new regime at Auburn. I remember the last time Auburn brought on a new coach, Coach Gus Malzahn, back in 2013. I actually went to that A-Day game not knowing what was going to happen. had no idea about who Nick Marshall was, and I was just casual like, okay, we'll just take this thing for what it is. So as we get into the meat of this particular video, what I want to talk about is the defense. I want to talk about the defense, the change of the defense. Before I get into this, I want to talk about the pass defense. Kevin Steele, he had some very successful moments as an Auburn defensive coordinator. He was really intense. He was really engaged, especially for a guy that was in his twilight years of coaching. All of us know the highlight of the late portion of his career was his 3-1-7 defense against LSU. How was he able to execute this? We talked about this in videos before. You got good defensive linemen with Marlon Davidson, Derek Brown, and of course, Tyrone Truesdale and others who contributed to that. And then you had the diversity and talent in the backside of the defense. You talk about Owen Papo, Zacoby McClain, and Chandler Wooten. And then you talk about the back end of the defense with, you talk about the back end of the defense with Daniel Thomas and those guys and Jamie and Sherwood, Smoke Monday, to add some diversity. Because if you look at Jamie and Sherwood and Smoke Monday, those guys are diverse in talent to where not only can they cover the back end of the football field, but they can come up. Like Jamie and Sherwood, at certain points of that defense, he came up as a pseudo linebacker to kind of take away the intermediate passing game. And when I tell you, those were the 500. Oh, yeah, LSU still put up 500 yards against Auburn. But it was the hardest 500 yards that LSU had all that year. And if we talk about Bo Nix all the time, and I'm not going to put all the weight on him per se, but if we had I'm talking about any type of consistent offensive production in that game, led by a 5-star quarterback in Bo Nix, making good decisions, which leads me to believe, this is a sidebar conversation on this video, leads me to believe that I think there is a quarterback battle happening at Auburn, but ain't nobody talking about it. Because Brian Harsin went on a presser, well, not a presser, but he talked to 24/7 Sports talking about decision making. I get the offensive line might not be perfect, but man, you talking about some of the best defensive linemen in college football that Auburn has to face week in and week out. I don't care what kind of offensive line you have, the situations are not going to be perfect. So Bo Nix, if he's going to be the starter, if he's going to help Brian Harsin be successful in his first year, the decision making has to be stellar. And that's just not been the case. Bo Nix, in favorable situations, best quarterback you got. Clean pocket, wide receivers run the route correctly, probably facing, say, a Mississippi State, maybe a Texas A&M, or Ole Miss, a team that's just not stellar on defense. Yes, Bo Nix will look like, the SEC freshman of the year. But I like the fact that Brian Harsin talked about, you're not going to always have favorable situations. And if you're going to be a quarterback in Power 5 football, especially in the SEC, especially in the SEC West, you have to be pretty good at making good decisions. War Eagle. Now, so let's shift this thing over to the defense, which is obviously, maybe, if y'all been paying attention, this is what I like to talk about the most, is defense and personnel packaging and formations. Auburn is going with Derek Mason, who is a staple in college football. He gets, folks want to consult with him, even in the NFL. Hey, how do I run this defense? He's a guy that they consult with as far as how to execute a good defense, 3-4 defense. So, I mean, yeah, 3-4 defense. So let's look at how what this looks like. You got 3 down linemen. You got 4 linebackers, of course. So you got 7 guys there. And then you have the 4 guys in the secondary. That gives you the opportunity to have a lot of diversity. The thing I like is you have 4 guys, not down linemen, but you have 4 guys that are standing up looking at the play development. Okay? So with the 3-4 defense, you got 7 guys in the box, basically. Okay? Then you got 4 more guys, nickel, 2 cornerbacks, and safety, or however they want to manipulate this. It gives the opportunity to give a team effort. Nick Eason, I think, is on the spot, though. Nick Eason is the brand new defensive line coach. It's going to be up to him to develop these guys to be able to execute rampage within the line of scrimmage. He has to put the best 3 guys on the field to make this happen. Kobe Wooden, Derek Hall, Tyrone Truesdale, and a host of other guys that I think will really make this work. If you really have been paying attention to the past few recruiting classes for Auburn, Auburn's got 12 to 13 guys, maybe 14, that maybe a guy that I'm not accounting for, to make the execution level of this work. Not only from a personnel standpoint, but from a depth standpoint. Sidebar, this ain't no sunshine pumping here. I'm just talking about what you got. You have at least 2 deep level of talent. Then you look at the linebacker position. Chandler Wooten, Zacoby McClain, Owen Papo, Wesley Steiner, a bunch of other guys that are in this mix. The linebacker position is probably at least 1.5 or 2 deep at best, which is good for the SEC because you got to have depth. Then you talk about the back end of the defense, the secondary. You have veterans like Smoke Monday, who will be, and then Ladarius Tennyson, and other guys that will be able to supplement there, which should leave you very excited. I want you to look for the defense here in the A-Day game, which will happen in 2 hours. I really like the prospect of what the defense can do. Now, I'm not going to just get on here and say this could be the best defense in the SEC because other teams have recruited very well. You talk about Georgia, who, in my opinion, I think Georgia will probably have the best defensive personnel package in the SEC. They've recruited very well. They've got some transfers, but hey, don't sleep on Auburn. Okay, guys, down in the plains where college football is king and the battle cry is War Eagle, smash that like button, smash the subscribe button, and continue to support all of the Auburn content creators on YouTube. It's always great to be an Auburn Tiger. War damn Eagle.